Recording in progress.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. It is now 6:01 on Tuesday, July the 11th, 2023. This meeting will now come to order. Madam Clerk, you ready to take the roll, please?
Brenham,
Here.
Pugh,
Here.
McBride, Livingston, Teratio, Weaver,
Here.
Barron, Walker,
Here.
Mackey,
Here.
English,
Present.
Newton.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And for the record, I actually spoke with Councilman Livingston as well as Councilwoman Barron, and both will not be present this evening. Mr. Livingston has a personal matter, and Ms. Barron is away on business. So, next item on the agenda is item 2, the invocation that will be given by the Honorable Allison Teratio. Councilwoman, you recognize?
Thank you. I would like to recognize Reverend Stephen Robinson from the Unitarian Universalist congregation here in Columbia.
Thank you, Chairwoman Teratio and Councilwoman Teratio and Chairman Walker for the opportunity to share tonight. Homer Sides was a tree farmer in North Carolina and forestry and agricultural advocate in North and South Carolina. He died about a week ago. He was known for a saying, and the saying goes, "If I knew I was going to die tomorrow, I would plant a tree today." I share that before a prayer for 2 reasons. One, I'm a minister, so, can't just come up and pray. I have to say something first. But I thought about that as I was preparing to come and talk to you and bring this meeting an invocation. The insight and the selfless vision to invest in something greater than yourself. Planning energy and hope in something you may not always see the end results. Reflecting on that quote, I thought about all of you as elected officials locally working in government who invest your time, your energy, and your gifts for the greater good of the people that you represent. So before we pray, and on behalf of the citizens of Richland County, I just want to say thank you. And in that spirit of gratitude, let us pray. Great Spirit of life, we give thanks for each and every member of this county council. They have taken it upon themselves to be the keepers of this beautiful, diverse, and priceless garden we call Richland County, made up of businesses, schools, faith communities, civic groups, natural resources, and close to 500,000 people who all depend on what is said and done here tonight. So bless this council tonight with wisdom, discernment, and grace to work together, caring for this garden. Give them vision to see beyond this moment and this place to the greater good of all, and help them to know in their hearts that they are appreciated for their good work. Amen.
You'll rise.
Thank you, Mr. Teratio. Before we move to the next item on the agenda, we have some special guests in the chamber this evening. that I'd like to recognize. I'm going to start with my favorite former council member. And do not tell Councilman Jim Manning that I said that. But I want to recognize Councilman Bill Malinowski. Councilman, raise your hand. This is his first time back to the chamber, since he retired from elected office. And as you can see, he's not really retired because he's back at 2020 Hampton. But it is really good to see you this evening, Councilman, and know that we really miss you on the council. Don't get me wrong, your successor, Councilman Bradham, is doing a great job, and we love him as well. But we certainly miss your presence. We miss you giving us a hard time about the rules. And I always tell people that if Councilman Malinowski disagreed with you on the issue, you could always rest assured that he was going to ensure that this council did things the right way procedurally. So again, your wisdom's missed, your presence is missed, and just good to see you here tonight. Just in great health. So, all right. And also we have some additional guests from the Richland County Recreation Commission. I see Commissioner Donzetta Lindsay, who's present this evening. Raise your hand, Ms. Lindsay. Good to see you. I also see Commissioner Rob Lapine. Did I miss anyone from the commission? Okay, well, good to see you all out this evening as well. Next item on the agenda is item 4, presentation of proclamations. We have about 3 this evening, so I guess for us to stay in order logistically, we're going to read each proclamation, and then once we're done with all 3, then we will line you up one by one for the photo op over there near the county seal. Beginning with item 4A, a proclamation supporting the South Carolina American Revolution Sesquicentennial Commission and recognizing the Richland County 250 Committee. That would be given by the Honorable Don Weaver. Councilman Weaver, you recognize, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight, it's a proclamation supporting the South Carolina American Revolution Sesquicentennial Commission and recognizing the Richland County 250 Committee. Whereas South Carolina created the South Carolina American Revolution Sesquicentennial Commission, or the 250th Anniversary Commission, also known as South Carolina 250. Whereas the mission of the South Carolina 250 Commission is to celebrate and promote South Carolina's role in the American Revolution by educating, engaging, and inspiring South Carolina and visitors. Whereas the South Carolina 250 Commission is seeking partnerships with counties and municipalities to further its mission, and whereas this partnership will be formed by creating a local committee called the Richland County 250 Committee. And whereas the South Carolina 250 Committee will focus on important events, people, and places during the Revolutionary era within Richland County to promote, observe, and celebrate Richland County's role in the American Revolution by educating, engaging, and inspiring South Carolinians and visitors. Whereas local projects, including visitable historical sites to attract tourists, supporting celebrations, restoring local historical markers, and rebuilding local historical infrastructure will enhance historical tourism opportunities. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that Richland County Councilmember Don Weaver and the Richland County Council hereby recognizes the Richland County 250 Committee as its official committee, will partner with the South Carolina American Revolution Sesquicentennial Commission, will support initiatives of the South Carolina 250 Commission, and will support the South Carolina 250 Committee in its local efforts to educate, engage, and inspire South Carolinians and our visitors, thereby enhancing historical tourism opportunities in Richland County. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman Weaver. Next item is item 4B, a proclamation recognizing Richland County's Economic Development Director, Jeff Rubel, on being named the Local Developer of the Year by the South Carolina Economic Developers Association. That will be given by the Honorable Jessica Mackey. Madam Vice Chair, you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's always a special occasion we can take some time out and honor our county employees. Whereas in 2023, Mr. Jeff Rubel received the Local Developer of the Year award from the South Carolina Economic Developers Association. The South Carolina Economic Developers Association aims to advocate for economic development across the state and has served as the state's voice of economic development since 1985. Mr. Rubel has served as the county's Director of Economic Development since 2015 and has more than 20 years of experience in the industry. The Richland County Economic Development Office works to expand, diversify, and sustain the local economy through assisting businesses that provide meaningful job opportunities and generate new wealth for county residents. Among other notable achievements, Mr. Rubel collaborated with Governor Henry McMaster and the South Carolina Department of Commerce to attract Scout Motors, Inc. to South Carolina, ultimately securing the company's investment of $2 billion to build an electric vehicle assembly plant in Richland County. Mr. Rubel's leadership, dedication, and vision for a prosperous and sustainable future for Richland County has positioned both the county and state for continued economic success. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that Richland County Council members Jason Branham, Derek Pugh, Yvonne McBride, Paul Livingston, Allison Terratio, Gretchen Barron, Overture Walker, Jessica Mackey, Cheryl English, and Shakese Newton recognize and honor Mr. Jeff Rubel for his contributions to Richland County and throughout the state of South Carolina.
Next item on the agenda is item 4C, a proclamation recognizing the Richland County Recreation Commission and declaring July as Park and Recreation Month. That will be given by whom? Madam Vice Chair, you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A proclamation recognizing the Richland County Recreation Commission and declaring July as Park and Recreation Month. The Richland County Recreation Commission is dedicated to enriching lives and connecting communities through diverse recreational opportunities. The Recreation Commission oversees the operations of parks across Richland County, as well as programs including summer camps, youth sports, and special events, ranging from holiday celebrations to 5Ks and family fun runs. In 2006, the Recreation Commission became the first recreation agency in South Carolina to be nationally accredited by the Commission for Accreditation of Park and Recreation Agencies, an honor the agency has maintained since then. Local park and recreation agencies are uniquely suited to serve as community wellness hubs, connecting residents to programs and services that advance health equity, improve health outcomes, and enhance people's quality of life. Close proximity to parks and other recreation facilities is consistently related to higher physical activity levels for adults and youth. 90% of U.S. adults say their mental health is improved by services that local park and recreation professionals and agencies offer. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that Richland County Council members Jason Branham, Derek Pugh, Yvonne McBride, Paul Livingston, Allison Terratio, Gretchen Barron, and Shakese Newton recognize and honor the Richland County Recreation Commission for its contributions to Richland County and does hereby proclaim July 2023 as Park and Recreation Month throughout the county. Council encourages all South Carolinians to enjoy their local parks and recreational centers throughout the year.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. And I believe for the first photo op with Councilman Weaver, that's going to be for the proclamation supporting the South Carolina American Revolution Sesquicentennial Commission. So,
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, and all members are welcome to join us over here.
you asked.
I think I have 9 more seconds. I'd like to thank the council, everyone involved for this proclamation. It's fantastic. You'll notice that I left a map of the state of South Carolina that 41 of 46 counties have already done this. Now it's 42. So thank you all very much, and we'll do our best to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the American Revolution here in Richland County. Thank you.
And next is the man of the hour, Director Jeffrey Rubel.
I think when it shift, distribute yourselves between this still, maybe a little more. This is, you know what? I'm gonna do that this time. I'm not gonna do this one. Oh, thank you. Come forward. Okay, I think that's fine. Yes, it's fine. All right. Just stay.
For the record, I tried to decline this, but I will say this, certainly I thank all our staff. We've had great folks working in our office that helped us achieve all these goals. I sometimes mention in the summer of 2019, we exercised the option for that large tract of land in Blythewood. It was a $26 million purchase. As far as I know, it might be the largest investment by a county for a piece of economic development property in the history of the state. Just by nature, most elected officials don't like to make courageous decisions that end up getting them unelected and benefiting their successors. This council showed a lot of faith, a lot of trust, and a lot of courage in doing that. So as staff, we only go as far as you carry us. So I would thank the council for making the courageous moves that would show the foresight to help us have this success. So thank you.
You gonna speak?
No, you can do it.
I'd like to thank the Richland County Council and all the employees for their effort and their support. Thank you so much for Recreation Commission.
Oh, you're, okay. I'll stay out of the way. Here,
You can take
I'll
picture
get,
too.
I'll get from the. Yeah. Looks great. All right.
Okay, thank you. I've been summoned. That's okay. Again, I would like to thank the Richland County Council for this proclamation. It's definitely well deserved. I think that recognizing us this year follows our national recognition, as well as July is our National Parks and Recreation Month. So I thank you for just recognizing us locally. And I would like to give special thanks to, again, you as the County Council. I would like to give thanks to our Board of Commissioners, also our Recreation Foundation Board of Directors, and it truly could not be providing service to you if it wasn't for our staff. And they provide the services to all of our citizens of all ages throughout the county. And want to be able to just improve quality of life overall. So again, thank you, and we will appreciate this proclamation. Thank you.
You recognize Councilman Pugh.
Well, first of all, I want to say Richland County Recreation Commission holds a very big space in my heart. I spent 7 years of my professional career, and I got my leadership start at Richland County Parks and Rec. And I see people in the audience that I grew up with, that I say I grew up with. They was already grown. I kind of grew up there. And I think a lot of times when people see Parks and Rec, they think about all the fun stuff, but we are responsible for a lot of people's children, and we are responsible for making sure that we provide equity when it comes to recreation activities across the county, because as you know, economics, they are not the same across the whole county, but we had to make sure that we gave equal opportunity to everybody. So again, I just want to say hats off to you guys, because people think you guys' job is fun, but y'all deal with a lot when it comes to people, because they don't know how important you guys are to this community. So again, thank you for everything you do, and I look forward to celebrating you guys next year when Parks and Rec Month come around again.
Thank you, Councilman Pugh. Okay. Next item on the agenda is item 5, approval of the minutes. Item 5A, special call meeting, June 13, 2023. Any additions, deletions, or changes to the minutes? Okay, entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, if it's appropriate, I would move to approve 5A, B, and C.
Second.
Properly second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk?
Brenham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Teratio,
Yes?
Weaver, Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Next item on the agenda is item 6, the adoption of the agenda. Any changes, additions, or deletions to the agenda?
Chair, move for adoption.
Second.
It's been moved to properly second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk?
Brenham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Teratio,
Yes?
Weaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Next item on the agenda is item 7, report of the county attorney for executive session items. Mr. Wright, you're recognized.
Yes, Mr. Chair. There's one item for executive session, community planning and development, conservation, Cabin Branch property acquisition pursuant to 30-4-70 subsections A2.
That involve outside counsel, Mr. Wright?
It does not.
All right, so if there's no objection from the body, we'd rather take this up later in the meeting. Item 8, citizens input for items on the agenda not requiring a public hearing. Madam Vice Chair, anyone sign up to speak?
No, sir.
Next item on the agenda is item 9, citizens input must pertain to Richland County matters not on the agenda. Items for which a public hearing is required or a public hearing has been scheduled cannot be addressed at this time. Madam Vice Chair, anyone sign up to speak?
No, sir.
Next item on the agenda is item 10, report of the county administrator. Mr. Brown, you're recognized.
Mr. Chair, members of council, I have about 3 items. There's one item listed on the agenda, and while it is not under executive session, if there are specific questions that you have related to the details of it, that may require that you choose to do so. But we received a letter of interest in acquiring a property here in Richland County. That property is located in District 5. That property is commonly referred to in our circles as the Haverty's Building. And so I wanted to bring that to your attention. I expect that the next time that the council meets, you will have information in a confidential packet form that will provide you that information. But just know that we have an interested buyer who's actually provided an offer. And so wanted you to kind of be aware of that in case you get anyone asking you questions about what is the county going to do with the offer that it received. That information just came to us last week, so you wouldn't have had any time before today to be aware of that information. So wanted to provide you that information and let you know that, again, details will be provided by the next meeting, but there is an offer that we have received to acquire that property.
Brown, with this item pertaining to the request to purchase property, it wouldn't be appropriate for this body, I guess, to ask you questions right now openly about that, correct?
General questions, but not questions that may, be related to the details of the offer that was received. But general questions, certainly.
Effective.
They could be. That's why I made the statement, Mr. Chair.
All right. Well, any general questions, from the body for Mr. Brown on this item?
Mr. Brown, who's the buyer?
Told you, general is very subjective. And that was in jest, by the way, for those. You recognize Ms. McBride.
Mr. Chair, and I think, Mr. Brown, you stated, but I'm just going to reiterate that this will go through the proper procedures as we have done with other properties being sold. Is that correct?
That is correct. The process is the council has to be notified. The council had to then choose to take an action, or they could choose not to take an action. And then from there, any other process that's associated with the council's choosing will proceed from there. And that information has generally been shared with the person of interest, but I will be following up with that interested party to explain the details of how it moves through the body and the process, if it moves at all.
Ms. McBride. Ms. Newton?
I promise this is general, and it's a follow-up to Ms. McBride's question, and really just for offline. So in my time on council, I think that this request for purchases coming and appearing on the council agenda, I can't say that I really recall that from the past, and so I would just be interested in, whether it's a one-on-one conversation with the attorney or a conversation with the body, like is how we want to do it. I know we have a separate purchasing process that Ms. McBride mentioned, and we're going to follow that. I'm just curious about, how we're going to handle that, and if this is going to become, a regular occurrence on our agendas, or if there's some other way. So I just want to put that out there, that I'm just curious about how we want to handle when we're initially approached. Thanks.
Sure, absolutely, and very directly, if I could just say, in order for an item to come before the body, so there has to be a mechanism. And so this particular mechanism, if someone approaches the county and is interested in donating or acquiring a property from the county, then the initial process will be a notice. So council members, here's general information, and then I'll provide you the details of it. And then the county has multiple steps it could take to consider the offer itself. And so we can kind of talk through those details. But yes, going forward, in order for me to get an item before you, it has to have a starting place. And so this item doesn't come as a recommendation, but the only way a prospective buyer can get before you is through some sort of council process. And so that wouldn't necessarily come from an individual council member, because I'm charged with managing the county's property on behalf of Richland County. So I feel like this is the best way to get it on the record and start a process so that we can be consistent with how information is noticed to you before you take any action on it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Weaver?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Brown, I'm confused on one thing. Make sure I understand. So this is a property we already own, and someone's approaching us to purchase it?
That's correct.
Okay, now I'm with you. Okay. Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was in the dark there for a minute, but I'm good now.
All right. Any additional questions for Mr. Brown on this item? All right, Mr. Brown.
Two other quick items, Mr. Chair, not to make them quick, yes, if they're not important. Wanted to give you an update. You may have already, some of you may be aware of this if you are familiar with the Planning Commission's meeting and some of their discussions, but our planning department has uploaded an interactive map at this point. So individuals who are interested in seeing what the proposed designations related to the proposed zonings look like, they can go to the planning department, they can click on land development code and click on the proposed zoning maps, and type in their information, and it will literally show them if there's a change, a proposed change in their particular locale in terms of their designation. They can take a look at that. So members have asked for that information. That information is now live and is available. So again, you can go to the planning department on the county's website, click on land development code, proposed zoning maps, and then put your address in or whatever address you're interested in looking at, and be able to see interactively, what a potential change will look like to that particular area that you're living in. So I just wanted to let you know that, because a couple of members had asked about, could we make this more interactive for the community? And that has been done. So I wanted to provide that information. The last thing, Mr. Chair, I want to talk about is there's been a lot of very positive things that have been happening. A lot of activity throughout the county on a number of different departments. And the good news is, we've put some resources in place to try to address that. We've, buffed up our communications team. But the good thing about all that activity is that there's a lot to cover. And sometimes there's questions about the priority of how things are covered and when things are covered and what things are kind of highlighted and when they're highlighted. And so one of the things I want to be able to do to make sure that we're supporting our communication efforts is to kind of help provide some prioritization, if you will, some general assistance, because there are a lot of directions we can go in. So I just want you to give some thought. There's nothing hardcore right now, but I want you to give some thought about us having some sort of, I don't want to call it a committee necessarily, but some kind of, communications, advisory, group, team, something of that nature, so that as the county is trying to look at covering all of the great things we have going on, if there are, priorities that we want to focus in on in certain orders, that in addition to what the team is looking at, what the administrator is looking at, and maybe what various entities within the county are looking at, multiple elected officials, we have a way of doing a good job of covering all of that and prioritizing in a way that captures really good communication. So I just want to put that on your mind right now and be thinking about that, because we're really excited about some opportunities that we have with our communications team, but want to make sure that we provide them with some opportunities to really key in on a lot of things that we want to cover and focus on. So that's my last update for this meeting, Mr. Chair. Again, we'll certainly take any questions that the body may have, but that does conclude my report.
Newton?
Chair. And thank you, Mr. Brown. Related to the last two items in terms of things that are happening at the county and communication and also the land development code, consider this what will always be a plea from me to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to communicate about the land development code. It has been a long process. It's been a complicated process. Parts of it are us following the letter of the law, ticking every box, but it can still be hard to explain. So again, just asking that we leave no stone unturned, no thread, tweet, post, unthreaded, posted, tweeted, whatever the case may be, but that we really take a deep dive, because I think it's a huge initiative that the county is taking on, and it really doesn't work if our constituents don't understand what's happening. So I'm applauding all of the things that have been done as relates to the land development code, and if we can continue to find new ways to put the information out to make things clear, I think that's a huge priority for me, certainly, but I think it's a huge priority for the county as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Additional questions, comments from the body for Mr. Brown? All right. Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, sir.
Next item on the agenda is item 11, report of the clerk of council. Madam Clerk, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman Walker. A few meetings ago, the council had tasked me with the task to look for locations for the council upcoming strategic planning forum. I have done some research and I have trying to identify some locations. However, in order to move forward with that, I need to receive from you guys a specific date so that we can secure a location. And I'm proposing and I'm asking the council to please let me know if the week of January the 17th to the 19th or the week of January the 24th to the 26th will please the body. I will also need a motion to be able to move forward.
Mr. Chair.
Recognize Ms. Mackey.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to move forward based on the clerk's proposed dates with January 24th through 26th being January 17th through 19th being option number 1, and then January 24th through 26th being option number 2.
Second?
Second?
Properly second. Discussion? None? Madam Clerk?
Brenham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Teratio,
Yes?
Weaver,
Yes.
Barron, Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved. Thank you, Chairman Walker. That concludes my report.
Madam Clerk. Next item on the agenda is item 12, report of the chair, and at this time, the chair does not have any announcements or updates for the body. Item 13, open and close public hearings. Item 13A, an ordinance authorizing deed to the City of Columbia for certain sanitary sewer lines to serve the Arthurtown, Little Camden, and Taylor Sanitary Sewer System Phase 1. That public hearing is now open. Madam Vice Chair, anyone sign up to speak?
No, sir.
That public hearing is now closed. Next item on the agenda is item 13B, an ordinance authorizing a deed to Allen University for 1741 Cushman Drive, Columbia, South Carolina, Richland County, TMS number 14103-02-20A. That public hearing is now open. Madam Vice Chair, anyone sign up to speak?
Yes, Mr. Chair. We have one individual that has signed up to speak this evening, Shirley Geiger. If you would, state your first and last name as well as your address. You'll have 2 minutes to speak, and you'll hear an alarm when that 2 minutes has come.
I hope I don't hear that long.
I
I won't be that long. I am Dr. Shirley Geiger, retired college professor. I live in the Highland Park community, and I'm here to represent the 160 families there and speak on behalf of Allen University. I'm well acquainted with the process, so I know that third reading, as my son would say, the deal is pretty well done. But I want to again express the support of the Highland Park community for this project. It is one of the most positive things that have happened in the 30 years or so that I've lived in that community. We see it as very much a positive. Allen is highly regarded in this community, Columbia as a whole, but especially in the Highland Park community. It has done the work of community building for over 150 years, very often with little help and little recognition. And so it is my privilege to urge you to vote yes, the final yes, on the Allen University project. And my only other, I have two other things. I want to thank our councilwoman, McBride, Mrs. McBride, for making sure that we knew what was going on and that we are well aware of it. I want to thank everybody who supported it so far. Allen deserves that support. And I know from growing up in this community, I know that sometimes it has not gotten the support that it needed from public officials, and that it very much deserves. So I'm really thankful to this council for its support so far. We're excited and looking forward to something in the upper Two Notch Road area other than the U-Haul, and one more Dollar General or Family Dollar or Dollar Tree. Thank you all very much.
Mr. Chair, that concludes all individuals that have signed up to speak this evening.
Vice Chair, that public hearing is now closed. Next item on the agenda is item 13C, an ordinance amending the Richland County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 21, Roads, Highways, and Bridges, Section 21-20, Road Paving Program, subsection I, so as to remove specific language. That public hearing is now open. Madam Vice Chair, anyone sign up to speak?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have two individuals that have signed up to speak this evening. First is Kim Murphy. You would state your first and last name, your address. You have 2 minutes to speak. When 2 minutes comes, you'll hear the alarm to indicate the time.
Thank you very much. Kim Murphy, 154 Old Laurel Lane in Chapin. Because of the last-minute notice and understanding that the committee meeting, the public hearing would be deferred until the 18th, would you please consider either deferring it or holding a second public hearing? I would really appreciate that. Based on the feelings that have been expressed from council regarding the Land Development Code, I believe that you will also feel that this issue deserves more scrutiny because of the implications. There are people who want their roads paved, and there are issues with some roads, but not all of them. Besides the character being changed along dirt roads, if the 25% threshold is removed, oversight on the penny tax will be lost. It will give the county an unfettered ability to pave all dirt roads and to take property for rights of way for whatever reason. Paving for developers using the penny tax can be done under the guise of we're fulfilling the will of the voters. I think taxpayers would be outraged. In order to complete what was set out in the referendum, county staff now wants to remove the 25% threshold that allows owners to object to their road being paved, a provision that was put in place by ordinance in 2009 in preparation for a sound process of prioritizing and expending penny tax funds earmarked for paving dirt roads, which respected the desires of the property owners. Under the process, the county sent out consent denial letters to property owners to sign either consenting or denying their road being paved. Property owners followed the rules, but now there is a proposal to renege. Changing the rules in the middle of the game is wrong, and it's extreme. Interesting timing, there were 2 rezoning requests in front of the Planning Commission yesterday involving developments that will not be able to be built unless the county-maintained dirt roads are paved. Who is going to pay for them? The taxpayers? If you remove the 25% threshold, there will be nothing left to prevent the county from using our tax dollars to facilitate the developers' construction projects. There's got to be a better process. Please consider voting no, or consider other alternatives to address only the public need issues.
Ms. Murphy, that's your time.
Thank you.
Next, Bill Malinowski. Sir, if you would, state your first and last name. I want to get on the record because I want to follow the rules. And your address. And you have 2 minutes.
The address is not 2020 Hampton.
Chair Walker, Vice Chair Mackey, members of County Council. My name is Bill Malinowski. I reside at 11824 Broad River Road, Chapin, South Carolina, 29036. After the penny tax passed, Council made every effort to assure the dirt road paving portion would be handled fairly, and that meant public education and public input. Efforts to achieve that fairness caused the hiring of outside attorneys to help devise a formula in order to create a dirt road ranking for paving. Now, many hours were spent in the secret room back there in order to come up with this formula, talking with those outside attorneys. Now, staff and council must have believed in the program created for paving dirt roads, as many taxpayer dollars were invested in holding public meetings, as evidenced by this quality poster that advertised those meetings. You can look closer later if you'd like to. Council needs to once again show they have taxpayers' interests in mind by holding public meetings to discuss how changing the dirt road paving ordinance will affect property owners. And based on that, I really feel that any third reading should be deferred until those meetings are actually held. This should not be a hurry up and get it done item on these agendas that we have. The other thing that I noticed is that it says on here, so as to remove specific language, but nowhere have we, the public, been told what's the specific language that is to be removed, at least not on this agenda. And I think we should know that so that comments can be made when it comes time for, hopefully, the public hearings that you will hold. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, that concludes all individuals that have signed up to speak this evening.
Madam Vice Chair, and it's been brought to my attention by some of my colleagues that there is, I guess, a heightened or elevated level of interest in this specific item. And so with that in mind, rather than close the public hearing this evening, I'm actually going to leave it open through July 18th, which would be at our next council meeting. Next item on the agenda is item 13D, authorizing the joint development and creation of a multi-county park with Fairfield County for the Scout Motors project, authorizing the execution and delivery of an agreement governing the multi-county park, and authorizing the inclusion of certain property located in Richland County in the multi-county park and other related matters. That public hearing is now open. Madam Vice Chair, anyone sign up to speak?
No, sir.
All right, that public hearing is now closed. Next item on the agenda is item 14, approval of consent items. 14A, an ordinance authorizing deed to the City of Columbia for certain sanitary sewer lines to serve the Arthurtown, Little Camden, and Taylor's sanitary sewer system, Phase 1. You recognize Mr. Pugh?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve items 14A through D.
Second?
Properly second. Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Brenham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Teratio,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Mr. Brown, any of these items, well, obviously, item B and C do not need reconsideration, but items A and D, is reconsideration needed?
Mr. Chair, with the meeting of council being next week, it can wait to the approval of the minutes next week.
Okay, sure. All right. Next item on the agenda is item 15, third reading items. Item 15A, an ordinance authorizing the deed to Allen University for 1741 Cushman Drive, Columbia, South Carolina, Richland County, TMS number 14103-02-20A. I entertain a motion.
Chair, move for approval.
Second?
It's been moved to properly second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Brenham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Recuse myself as I'm on the faculty at Allen University.
thank you. McBride,
Yes.
Teratio,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Next
Mr.
item.
Chair.
I'm sorry, you recognize Ms. Mackey?
Thank you. I just wanted, what is this, 15A? Yes, it went through, and we're glad about that. In an original, when we made this motion, I think there was a piece that we missed, and I just wanted to put out here to make a motion that the proceeds from this sale go back into our capital improvement or land sale account so that we can use it to find future property.
Brown, motion's necessary for that, or is,
So yes, sir, otherwise, that if you wanted, that money goes back to the general fund, just in general, without any other designation.
motion on the floor, is it?
Second.
Properly second. Discussion, Ms. Newton?
Thank you. Ms. Mackey, you and I had a conversation about this motion, which I support, and I'm going to look to staff who I spoke to about this as well. Is it correct that your intention with this motion is not solely that it go to the land fund that you named, but that it might be designated specifically for a future emergency operations center, which is what the original land was for?
Ms. Mackey?
I'm open.
Okay, well,
to-
if the body is open or you're open to an amendment to your motion, I would just like to add for use for a future emergency operations center. Would that be appropriate from a legal perspective?
Yes.
Ms. Newton, I guess before you go forward with the motion, the question I would have is, and maybe not a question for you, but for Mr. Brown, what gives you, I guess, the most flexibility? Would it be what Ms. Mackey has suggested, or would it be the substitute motion from Ms. Newton?
Ms. Mackey's motion, to answer your question, gives the most flexibility. Ms. Newton's motion is specific and says you have a pot of funds that are specifically set aside for the purposes, as you mentioned, of the Emergency Operations Center. So that's very specific. Ms. Mackey's motion is more general. So the answer to your question is Ms. Mackey's motion is more flexible.
If I may say why I was suggesting it.
Sure, go ahead.
And if it's not the will of the body, that's fine. My suggestion for designating it this way is that the original use of the land, when we purchased it, was specifically for an emergency operations center. And so studies were done, and that's what it was for. And so went with us selling this property, at some point, should the Emergency Operations Center be something that we're going to pursue, we'll have to start that process again. Funds will have to be acquired. And so to me, it felt more like preserving what the original use for that property was. Again, if it's not the will of the body, that's fine. And I haven't officially made a substitute motion. I inquired if it would be appropriate. So I
Substitute
see
motion or a friendly amendment? Which one?
I'm sorry, actually, it was an amendment that felt as friendly as friendly could be.
Madam Vice Chair, do you accept the friendly amendment to your motion?
Sure.
Okay, so the friendly amendment has been accepted. All right, does that need a second? Does it need a second? Okay, I'll second the friendly amendment. Any additional discussion? You recognize, Ms. McBride.
Mr. Brown, under normal circumstances, when we purchase property, it usually goes back to the general fund. Is that?
When we receive funds into the county,
Yes.
it generally goes to the general fund if it's not a
Correct.
special revenue fund or some other designated fund.
Correct. Then that allows you and the council the opportunity to use the funds as appropriate and as needed. As a council, we've set priorities on some capital projects and everything. I would hate to see us tie those funds down to a particular area when we have already established other priorities where the funds may be needed at that time. Of course, I support the emergency services, and I know that the proposal was made some 12 or 13 years ago, and a lot of things have happened during that time. I also realize that the emergency center is like a third priority coming down in terms of some things that we're planning to do. I just would hate to see us lock those funds in and not be able to use them in an emergency or for those priorities that already have been established. So I move, and I do a substitute motion?
No, the substitute motion's already on the
Okay.
floor, so.
Ask a
Ms.
question.
Newton, yes.
Thank you. So to Ms. McBride's point, if one day council woke up and said, you know what, we don't want to have an emergency operations center, would council just be able to come and make a motion to release those funds?
Recognize Mr. Brown, or, I'm sorry, Mr. Wright.
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to have the county attorney provide legal response.
Right?
Yes, at any point, council could change it back to be general or for some other purpose.
Thank you.
Right.
And we know the process and that council has that authority, but then that takes us more into a procedural process and that we have to go through a whole nother voting and all that when it could be easily done the other way. But just a comment.
Thank you, Ms. McBride. Okay, with the amendments on the floor, so at this time, if there's not any additional discussion, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Branham,
Yes.
Pugh,
No.
McBride,
No.
Teratio,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes?
Motion approved.
Next item on the agenda is item 15B.
Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry, you recognize Ms. Mackey?
I'm sorry, do we need to reconsider 15A or the additional motion that was just made?
Given the original request from the university, I would say yes.
Right.
Yes, since Mr. Pugh recused himself, his vote, I guess, won't be counted.
I know he recused himself from A, and he should have also recused himself from.
Well, the motion is regarding.
Got you. Okay, all right. Okay, no, that's okay. So do we just need to, we just vote over again, or I guess reconsider, or he can just withdraw?
He can just withdraw his, I think the motion passed regardless, so it doesn't change the vote.
Let the record reflect that Councilman Pugh, has withdrawn his vote because he has already recused himself from anything relating to Allen University. Okay, all right.
Motion to reconsider 15A?
Second.
Properly second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk?
Brenham,
No.
Pugh,
Hughes.
McBride,
Yes.
Teratio,
No?
Weaver,
No.
Walker,
No.
Mackey,
No?
English,
No.
Newton.
No?
Motion fails.
I have a question. So the motion for reconsideration that pertained to 15A, and then Ms. Mackey also had a motion following that. So do we also need to move for reconsideration on the motion that she made, or is her motion, which had the amendment from Ms. Newton, is that part of 15A as well?
I think it's a motion, a separate motion, but it was my understanding that she asked for reconsideration for both. Or maybe I was wrong.
Oh, yeah, no, I was just saying 15A. I
Okay.
was purposely keeping
So
it
yes,
separate.
that's a separate
Yeah.
matter.
And what
Just
prompted
saying
the
that
question was
just-
when Ms. McBride voted no.
Okay.
No, yes on reconsideration. So I don't think Ms. McBride meant to vote
No,
yes.
I thought that you were doing 15B.
We're not on 15B yet. We're
Okay.
still on 15A.
I'm sorry, I thought that she was doing the
The
amendment.
motion.
Yeah, that's what you were
That
thinking.
motion.
yeah.
I was voting on her
The motion,
her
right.
motion
So
that we
now,
passed.
so now do we need, so now do we need to have a motion for reconsideration on the motion that was made by Ms. Mackey and then with the amendment that was offered up by Ms. Newton?
There's no time-sensitive
Okay.
matter associated with that decision, so I would not be asking the council to make a motion for reconsideration. You could wait to the regular reading of the minutes and the potential adoption.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
Mr.
Yes, Ms.
Chair.
McBride.
I'm sorry, because I was confused, because I was doing, I would have never voted yes for 15A, but I thought we were voting on the motion that was just made for reconsideration. So I don't know how to correct that, or if it's too late for the correction, but it was a misunderstanding.
Right.
I think it is too late to correct it at this point, because once it's announced, it's what it is.
Well, Ms. McBride, how about just offer you a,
No, I
just a
want it
point of
corrected.
personal
I'm just
privilege.
kidding.
Well, but just state your support on the record and that how, yeah, I mean, I'll give you a chance to.
Okay, thank you. I just would like to state, due to a misunderstanding in the motion that was being presented, that I vote no for the reconsideration for item 15A, and that I support the approval for 15A.
And Mr. Chair, the record, the minutes can reflect her statement.
Oh, that's one to give her an opportunity.
thank you,
just to
Mr.
say
Chair.
that.
I
Yes,
appreciate that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what jumped out at me when she voted yes for
Yeah.
reconsideration. I said, well, then
Yeah, I was thinking that that was that motion that was just made, which I disapprove wholeheartedly, but
you had to get that one in, right? All right. Item 15B, authorizing the joint development and creation of a multi-county park with Fairfield County for the Scout Motors project, authorizing the execution and delivery of an agreement governing the multi-county park, authorizing the inclusion of certain property located in Richland County in the multi-county park and other related matters. I entertain a motion.
Move to approve. Second.
Been moved to properly second. Any discussion? There be a none, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Brenham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
yes.
Teratio,
Yes?
Weaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Next item on the agenda is item 16, second reading item, Item 16A, authorizing the execution and delivery of a fee in lieu of ad valorem taxes agreement by and between Richland County, South Carolina, and Project Foundation to provide for payment of a fee in lieu of taxes, authorizing certain infrastructure credits and other related matters. I entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
It's moved to properly second. Any discussion? You recognize Mr. Racio.
Thank you. Is this a company that already has headquarters here in Richland County and they're just expanding? Okay, I'm seeing a nod, yes. Okay, thank you.
Additional questions, Mr. Racio?
That's it, thank you.
Okay. All right. Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Brenham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Teratio,
Yes?
Weaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
And next item on the agenda is item 17, report of the Economic Development Committee. That will be given by the Honorable Yvonne McBride. Councilwoman, you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. 17A, authorizing the execution and delivery of a fee in lieu of ad valorem taxes and incentive agreement by and between Richland County, South Carolina, and Vista Depot Holding, LLC, among other affiliates, to provide the payment of a fee in lieu of taxes, authorizing certain infrastructure credits and other related matters. Additional information is on pages 172 through 209. In summary, this first reading is for a large development of 11.9 acre parcel in the Vista that would lead to 2 new hotels, one of which would be a 4-star hotel, and a new 183-unit multi-family housing complex. This proposed development represents a potential in investment of at least $135 million, with the creation of 100 new full-time positions. The county proposes a 30-year fee in lieu of tax agreement with a 50% special source revenue credit for 15 years. The committee recommends approval.
Heard the recommendation of the committee. Any questions or discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk?
Branham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Teratio,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
McBride, you still have the floor.
Item 17B, committing to negotiate a fee in lieu of ad valorem taxes agreement between Richland County and Project Growth, identifying the project and other matters related thereto. Additional information, pages 210 through 211. In summary, this is simply a resolution that legally recognizes Project Growth so that they can capture expenditures under a proposed fee agreement. The committee recommends approval.
Heard the recommendation of the committee. Any questions or discussion from the body? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Branham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Teratio,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Right.
17C, authorizing the execution and delivery of one or more fee in lieu of ad valorem taxes and incentive agreements by and between Richland County, South Carolina, and Project Growth to provide for a payment of a fee in lieu of taxes, authorizing certain infrastructure credits and other related matters. Additional information can be found on pages 212 through 245. And in summary, this is a first reading for a potential $29 million development of approximately 341,000 square feet of industrial space near Shop Road in Lower Richland County. The county proposes a 30-year fee in lieu of tax agreement with a 10-year special source revenue credit of 35%. The committee recommends approval.
Heard the recommendation of the committee. Any questions or discussion? You recognize Mr. Racio.
Thank you. Just a question about can we give a little bit of information about what kind of industrial? Just thinking about potential for pollution, that kind of stuff.
Director Rubel.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. It is speculative development, so they're building the space. We kind of changed tactics a little bit on incentivizing speculative development. The idea behind the fee in lieu of tax is to take the property off the tax roll, put it into a fee agreement, and then if a manufacturer or someone occupies the property, that gives the county more latitude to offer incentives for both the real property and the personal property. So it's a way to kind of protect our interest long-term on speculative development. And it's a tactic we're using more and more.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Racio. Thank you, Director Rubel. All right. Any additional questions or discussion? Madam Clerk?
Branham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Teratio,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Chair, that completes the Economic Development Committee report.
Thank you, Councilwoman McBride. Next item on the agenda is item 18, report of the Development and Services Committee that will be given by the Honorable Shakese Newton. Councilwoman, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There are 2 items on the agenda tonight, and let me look to Mr. Wright for a moment. One item is here, item 18A for first reading. I would like to mention what came out of committee, but ultimately defer first reading. So what would be the most appropriate way to handle that?
Since it's before the body, if the body chooses to defer, the body can.
Okay.
That's up to the body.
Thank you.
Motion, just need a motion from Ms. Newton.
Correct.
All right, Ms. Newton.
Thank you. Well, I guess I wanted to speak to why we were proposing deferring it. So the motion is an ordinance of the County Council of Richland County revising the zoning map of unincorporated Richland County to change the zoning designation for real property located in the unincorporated areas of Richland County as described herein, and providing for, I've never said this word before, help me, Attorney Walker, severalty?
Severalty. Yeah,
Thank you.
Got it. Yeah.
I'm always learning. Severalty and an effective date. And so I think we all recall from the Land Development Code that when we paused the process, we paused the process so that we could continue to work on the text. In the subsequent time that has passed, in order for us to make the text amendments that we desire to make, we have to approve the map so that we have a complete code that can then be revised. And so what this motion is allowing us to accept maps, complete the code, so that we can go back and make all the revisions. The other thing that came out of the DNS committee, however, was a desire to have a work session for county council, and so that we could talk through all of the questions that anyone has on the mapping process, all the questions that we have about text amendments, and also really reassure our constituents that, you know, that they can see that we're moving on both those items together. So with that said, I move to defer first reading of this item until after we host a work session on the Land Development Code. And I can provide some draft dates that were given by staff if that pleases the body.
So my question would be for Mr. Wright. I know when we defer items, I don't think the rule requires a specific date, but is that too open-ended to say, schedule it after a work session is held, or do we?
Yeah, I believe so. I think you have to have a specific date.
I've got one, sir.
Okay.
Said you had some, so I want to hear.
Well, I have some for work sessions.
Okay.
So first, then I move to defer first reading of this item until September 12th.
Second.
Properly second. It's non-debatable. So, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Branham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Teratio,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes?
Motion approved.
Mr. You recognized Mr. Branham.
Ms. Newton, as part of your report, I wondered if you could mention a couple of the possible dates for work sessions for council.
I will absolutely do that, Mr. Branham, and would ask that staff distribute these. This was just presented to me when our meeting had already started, so if you've not seen this before, that is why. So there were dates provided for, I can't tell from these notes, Mr. Jensen, if you were offering us 2 work sessions or just 2 dates. So the 2 dates that were provided were July 18th, which is when we already have a meeting next week. And then the second date was August 29th, where we already have a special called session. So basically taking advantage of 2 dates where we already have meetings.
Bride's a little sensitive to these work sessions in August now.
I'm not sure. I don't know if it would. I don't know if it would be
sensitive about
fair.
these meetings in August. So
I don't know if it would be fair to say Ms.
draw any
McBride is the
conclusions,
only
Ms.
one.
McBride.
I'm just reading the dates on my paper.
Yeah, I just put it on.
well, that was more so for her,
Gotcha.
Ms. Newton, not for the body.
Gotcha. Yeah. So those are possible dates, but again, the motion that we just passed was to defer first reading until September 12th.
Sure.
So that provides some 11 fun days of September as options as well.
All right, got it. Thank you, Ms. Newton.
Thank you. That brings us to item 18B, which actually was in the committee a few meetings ago, to direct the administrator to research and present to council current laws and benefits of enacting impact fees in Richland County. The purpose is to help reduce the tax burden on residents by not having to pay the complete cost of development in Richland County. And now that I read this again, that was the motion that was discussed, and what came out of committee was actually to authorize Administrator Brown to bring in a consultant who had subject matter expertise to advise us on our options.
Brown, you seen?
No, that is correct. I was just saying that is correct. It's not listed here, but that is correct.
Okay.
So then.
I'm sorry, Ms. Newton, continue on, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so again, that was in my head. I see that that's not listed here. So then I would move, as the committee moved and approved, to authorize Administrator Brown to bring in a third-party consultant to provide subject matter expertise to help him provide or fulfill the intent of this motion regarding impact fees.
Ms. Newton, is that a motion or is that the recommendation from the body? I mean, from the committee?
There was a motion that passed at the committee.
At the committee, okay. Yeah, so that's the committee's recommendation.
It
Okay.
is.
All right, any questions or comments regarding the recommendations of the committee?
Mr. Chair.
You recognize Mr. Arcia.
I just wanted to acknowledge, Mr. Malinowski apparently has left for the evening, but just to acknowledge that Mr. Malinowski brought this item before us to consider, and if he's listening on the way home, that we thank him.
Absolutely. All right. Clerk?
Brenham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Teratio,
Yes.
Weaver,
No.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes,
Motion approved.
Newton, does that conclude your report?
that does conclude my report. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Next item on the agenda is item 19, report of the Administration and Finance Committee. That will be given by the Honorable Jessica Mackey. Madam Vice Chair, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. 19A is an item that is initially brought up at the beginning of our meeting to be discussed in executive session. So I would ask that we just hold on my report till after we've done executive session at the end of the meeting.
Yes, ma'am. Next item on the agenda is item 20, report of the Transportation Ad Hoc Committee, which will be given by the Honorable Overture Walker. The committee, actually it's 20A, Transportation Facility Needs Study. The committee recommends council approve issuing an RFP for a study to determine countywide transportation needs. The work will be funded using the Penny Program Countywide Corridor Fund. That amount would not exceed $300,000. The Transportation Penny has completed over 500 projects since its inception. But I think it's important that we begin to look ahead at conditions around the county that have changed over the past decades since the last planning study and actually prepare a transportation master plan. So that is the recommendation of the committee. Any questions or comments from the body? You recognize Ms. Newton and then Mr. Weaver.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm excited about voting yes for the committee's recommendation. I just was curious to know if we had an approximate time frame for how long it would take to complete the study.
Not sure. Director Maloney, if you don't mind coming down, perhaps you would have a better idea about the time frame.
Yes, sir. The 90% completion is planned January, February of 2024. So we look at having the needs analysis move into developing a project plan at that time.
Well, the project, I guess to Ms. Newton's point, I think she wanted to know when that plan would be complete. Is that your question, Ms. Newton?
Not the completion of the transportation priorities, but the creation of the plan. So he did answer that question. And may I ask a quick follow-up?
Absolutely.
Would that plan also take into account inputs like the long-range transportation plan from the Central Midlands Council of Governments, or would it be a wholly new and unique thing that the county is doing?
It would be not just independent for the county, but it would be taking input from the COG and the MPO, SCDOT, City of Columbia, as well as county.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilman Weaver.
Thank you,
And
Mr.
then
Chairman.
Mr.
I just want to make sure I know what I'm voting on. So we're voting to spend $300,000 to create this study committee on whether to do another penny? Is that what we're saying?
No.
All right.
And you know, Councilman, we have a feeling you were going to ask about another penny. I just something
that's my
said.
hot button issue.
I'm not clairvoyant, but I said, okay, he's about to ask about another penny. No, but the purpose of the study is to assess what our needs are going forward. That's all. So it's not, the name of the study is not to make a decision on another penny or not. I mean, that's a completely different process.
It's a $300,000 needs assessment.
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
And the fund's already there to pay for it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
I'm good.
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Racio?
Thank you. I read through the description a couple of times. I'm not sure that I maybe missed something. I saw that there was rail service considered. Are we also considering other forms of public transportation, perhaps in this study?
Director Maloney?
Anything that would be revealed, but it is, looking at what we have, ample transit, also multi-use opportunities with bike systems and other things for public transportation.
Thank you.
And Mr. Racio, the study is meant to be comprehensive, so so that's the aim behind it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All right. Any additional questions or discussion? You recognize Councilman Branham.
Thank you. Mr. Racio, we probably could get light rail done for $300,000, right? We could just take the study money and we could probably ask California about that.
I wish. Thank you.
I just wanted to say that I'm in support of this. As I understand it, it's been at least a decade since the last study and report of this nature was completed in Richland County. And I tend to think or hope that this study might help us inform the process as we probably next year begin reviewing our comprehensive plan, which of course asks us to consider several elements in projected growth and setting of priorities. Thank you.
Councilman Branham. Additional questions or comments? Madam Clerk?
Branham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Teratio,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey, English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
And Mr. Brown, do we need reconsideration on this?
Mr. Chair, given the nature of this particular request, I will go ahead and ask for reconsideration.
Move to
of this item.
reconsider.
Second.
Properly second. Discussion. Clerk?
Branham,
Nope.
Pugh,
No.
McBride,
No.
Teratio,
No.
Weaver,
No.
Walker, Mackey,
No.
English,
No.
Newton.
No.
Motion fails.
Let's look at the next. Sorry. All right, next item on the, and by the way, that concludes the report of the Transportation Ad Hoc Committee. Next item on the agenda is item 21, report of the Coronavirus Ad Hoc Committee, and I think a motion is imminent.
Mr. Chair.
You recognize Councilman Branham?
I serve on this committee with our chair, Ms. Barron, not present today. The motion is to defer to the next meeting, the July 18th meeting.
Second.
Properly second, that's non-debatable, so Madam Clerk, take the vote, please.
Branham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Teratio,
Yes, but I will, when we vote on this, need to recuse myself. Sorry, just making a statement. Do I need to recuse myself on deferral?
Let's make it, let's keep it.
As clean as
clean,
possible. So
yeah.
I'll recuse myself on this one.
thank you. Weaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Next item on the agenda is item 22, which are other items.
Mr. Chair,
You recognize Councilman Pugh.
I'd like to make a motion to approve items 22A and B.
Second.
It's been moved to properly second. Any discussion? There be none, Madam Clerk?
Branham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
Teratio,
Yes?
McBride,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Move for reconsidering.
Second.
Properly second. Any discussion? There be none, Madam Clerk?
Branham,
No.
Pugh,
No.
McBride,
No.
Teratio,
No?
Weaver,
No.
Walker,
No.
Mackey,
No.
English,
No.
Newton.
No.
No.
Motion fails.
All right, next item on the agenda is item 22C. It's not the John Thompson I'm thinking of, is it?
Oh, it is. Read it
Who's
loud
John
and proud,
Thompson?
Mr. Chair.
Renaissance man, huh? Man of many trades. All right, item 22C, a resolution to appoint and commission John M. Thompson as a code enforcement officer for the proper security, general welfare, and convenience of Richland County. Entertain a motion for approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved to properly second. Any discussion? Please, some discussion.
Yes.
You recognize Ms. English?
Dr. Thompson, how many jobs do you have?
That's why I said for the inconvenience of Richland County. Oh, boy. Okay. Any additional discussion or questions? You recognize Mr. ACO?
Just want to say thank you for all your service and all you do for the county.
Absolutely. And I wanted to Mr. ACO sent to Dr. Thompson. I know I tend to needle you from time to time, but it's all in fun. It's all in jest. But certainly appreciate your service. Any additional discussion? All right, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Brenham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Teratio,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Administrator Brown, now that Dr. Thompson, well, I should say Code Enforcement Officer Thompson, is, he is now official. Is that who we call when we have concerns about the firework ordinance?
Mr. Chair, I have not heard of reconsideration, and no meetings have been approved, so I cannot answer that question at this time.
Entertain a motion for reconsideration.
Second.
Move to properly second. That's not, any discussion or questions? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Brenham,
No.
Pugh,
No.
McBride,
No.
Teratio,
No.
Weaver,
No.
Walker,
No.
Mackey,
No.
English,
No.
Newton.
No.
Motion fails.
Next item on the agenda is item 23, executive session, which really takes us back to item 7 on our agenda, which is the report of the county attorney for executive session. Item 7A, community planning and development, conservation, cabin branch, property acquisition. I entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Move to properly second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Brenham,
Yes.
Pugh,
Yes.
McBride,
Yes.
Teratio,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
We're now in executive session.
Move to come out of executive session.
Second.
Moved to properly second. Any discussion? All right, there being none, Madam Clerk, take the vote, please.
Brenham.
Yes.
Pugh.
Yes.
McBride.
Yes.
Teratio.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Record reflect, we went into executive session regarding item 7A, Community Planning and Development, Conservation, Cabot Branch, Property Acquisition. We went into executive session pursuant to South Carolina Code 30-4-70 that pertained to property acquisition. We took that only as information and no action was taken. Next item on the agenda, we're back to item 19, which is a report of the Administration and Finance Committee, 19A. Ms. Mackey, you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Administration and Finance Committee met regarding 19A, the Community Planning and Development Conservation Cabot Branch Property Acquisition. And the committee has a recommendation to allow staff to move forward with a grant application related to the property acquisition.
Heard the recommendation of the committee. Any questions or discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Brenham.
Yes.
Pugh.
Yes.
McBride.
Yes.
Teratio.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Thank you. That concludes the report of the H&F Committee.
Can I get, motion to reconsider?
Oh,
Move to reconsider.
Second.
properly second. Discussion. None, Madam Clerk?
Brenham.
No.
Pugh.
No.
McBride.
No.
Teratio.
No.
Weaver.
No.
Walker.
No.
Mackey.
No.
English.
No.
Newton.
No.
Motion fails.
Mr. Chair, that concludes the committee's report.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Next item on the agenda is item 24, motion period, and there are no motions. Next item, 25, adjournment.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
And it's been properly moved to second. It's non-debatable, so Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Brenham.
Please. Yes.
Pugh.
Yes.
McBride.
Yes.
Teratio.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
English.
Yes.
Newton.
Yes.
Motion approved.
We are adjourned.